State Champs Live is presented by Lawrence Technological University, where Blue Devils dare. The Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. Hungry Howie's, famous for flavor. And the Detroit Medical Center. Do you have a sports injury or are just looking to take your game to the next level? Go where the pros go. Visit dmc.org/gamechangers. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of State Champs Live, presented by Lawrence Tech. As you can see, we have worked diligently over the last 40 minutes or so to get an image for Mark Ewell so that we could have the video of our conversation here today, and we just weren't able to make that happen. But we do have Mark here via audio, so you're going to be able to hear him, and that's the most important thing, that we hear what he has to say. We're live every Monday through Friday here, people, at 2 p.m. Since 2002, State Champs has proudly served the Michigan high school sports community. My name is Lauren Plant. For the second day in a row, we will be discussing the after effects of Governor Whitmer's decision yesterday to shut down every school in the state of Michigan for the remainder of the school year. So joining me today, Executive Director of the Michigan High School Athletic Association, Mark Ewell. Mark, I appreciate you trying for us to make this video connection happen, but I appreciate that you are here taking a few minutes to speak to our community today, the high school sports community throughout the state of Michigan.
You bet, Lauren. I wish it was under much different circumstances, but it's good to be with you today.
Absolutely. We are live on State Champs Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I will be monitoring the Facebook chat, so if you have a question for Mr. Ewell, please ask it there, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. I just want to first ask you to just please describe the last 24 hours for you and the entire MHSAA organization.
Well, we knew that some sort of a decision was going to be coming from the governor's office. We had heard, we saw the media reports like everybody else did early in the week that the decision was going to be to close schools, face-to-face education from the rest of the year. You then heard on Tuesday and Wednesday that may not be the case, that there's some parts of our state who obviously have been more significantly impacted than others. And was there then going to be pressure in the more outstate areas to not cancel through the end of the school year? But with Governor Whitmer's order yesterday to close schools through the remainder of the school year, what we then did after that is we took our time and we read completely through the order. We reached out to our contacts in the governor's office, legislators. We convened a phone meeting of our executive committee, communicated with our 19-member representative council, which is our board of directors. And then we had several staff meetings to where we really debated where we go next. There were really two pathways forward. One would have been the decision we made today, and that was to cancel. And then the other one is we could have waited and delayed. And the feedback that we had been getting from schools since the order yesterday is our schools are really putting all of their effort, energy, and focus for the next 8 weeks or so to provide online and distance education for kids. In a lot of districts, we're hearing that, the athletic director in the building, that they're being reassigned here temporarily for the last 2 months of the school year, to where they're going to have a significant, distance learning load and responsibility. And it just, what we got back from our schools is they needed to be laser focused. And again, we're school sports, so we're academics first, athletics second. That they needed to be laser focused on providing education to students for these last 2 months. And then the other part of it, Lauren, was, even though we can see some of the models and you hear some of the speculation that, in early May or mid-May, it might be better, it could be better. But the fact of the matter is, even with those models, we would have been back at the earliest by probably middle to late June at this point, with all of the logistical details that needed to have been pulled together. And so really it was the decision to close schools along with still an awfully long road ahead here as we get back to even a semblance of normalcy, which is why the decision, and we've tried to be very transparent through this whole process, just to be completely upfront with people, and we've been completely upfront and honest over the last 3 weeks, is we've put together a number of contingency plans. We had one plan if schools were back in April. We had a second plan if schools were back in May. And then we even had a third and final plan if we couldn't do anything until the summer. We were hoping to get that window of opportunity, but unfortunately with the events of the last 24 hours, especially with the governor's order, that's why we made the decision today that we did.
I know that there were many who were expecting perhaps the governor might say, hey, let's just give it another 4 weeks and then we'll kind of reevaluate at that point. Did her decision surprise you just to shut it down?
It didn't surprise us just because you hear the news in our state, Lauren, and you look at the numbers of cases, of positive cases and deaths that are growing, especially in the Metro Detroit area. It's staggering to see the number of people and families that are being affected. And, as much as we all are invested in sports, especially into school sports, when you see that absolute human tragedy playing out in hospitals in the Metro Detroit area and other parts in our state, it really became a matter of you really need to put the most important things first, remember the big picture, and we need to get everybody here to follow all of these social distancing guidelines. So again, we can hopefully dream of some sense of normalcy once we get into the summer months, because I think everybody's pretty much in agreement that the April and May that we have in front of us will be unlike any of our lifetimes.
We're joined by the executive director of the MHSAA, Mark Ewell, and believe me, we tried diligently to get the video connection here, so we're glad that we can have him from an audio perspective. Mark, I have a senior. What do you say to the seniors, the class of 2020?
Absolutely heartbreaking. If there was something that really kept me personally going and our staff going the last 3 weeks, since really all of our lives have just been completely spun sideways, has been the kids in the class of 2020. To know that they're going through the spring of not being able to experience all of those normal last senior things, whether that be prom, whether that be an awards assembly, whether that even just being the little simple things, that last game, that last concert, that last whatever. We have a lot of schools right now that don't know when they're going to have their commencement or graduation ceremonies. So it was those senior kids that really drove us to continue to draw up these different contingency plans and concepts and ideas. And maybe if we get our opportunity, here's a way where these kids could end their career on the court, on the ice, on the mat, on the whatever surface that they play. And I can tell you the most heartbreaking thing once the decision was finally made today, it's just knowing that the impact it's going to have on not just all kids, but especially our seniors who, for a lot of them, this was kind of the last thing that was just still hanging out there, is maybe that possibility for some athletic experience this year. But as we said, we've tried to be completely upfront and transparent, and with our plans the last 3 weeks, letting folks know that was a real possibility that we were moving toward. And then with the governor's order and some of the other data that just doesn't look like it's going to change in the near future, my heart absolutely breaks for the kids in the class of 2020.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you said that. And we're going to get to some more questions. I just want to take a little detour, and I know this is near and dear to your heart, so I want you to speak on it. I'll just give maybe 30 seconds, because we've been beating the drum all school year long on the critical need for referees. We're proud to partner with you guys for several years now. Take a moment on the benefits of becoming an MHSAA official. There may be more now who want to get connected with the game in a unique way because of the situation we're in.
The strongest message over the last 3 weeks that we've gotten as we've tried to work through this is just how important high school sports plays in the lives of thousands of people in our state. And for those that, have finished their time as a high school student or are looking for a way to stay involved in really an experience that is unlike any other on the planet, to get your little taste of being a part of the high school sports family and in that environment, we need more referees and umpires now more than ever. And as we hopefully get back to some normalcy over the summer and we're able to retool and still, and Lauren, right now for us to be back in August with business as usual is no guarantee at this point. But once we do find that sense of normalcy and we get back to life as we knew it, a great way to get involved is through officiating.
Absolutely. And you led right into it with reference to the fall. I believe the planning is for everything to start up as scheduled. Of course, that's if the quarantine and social distancing restrictions are removed.
It is. So our representative council, our 19-member board of directors who are all from our schools, our last board meeting of the year is on May 3 and 4. We're not sure if that will be a face-to-face meeting or another virtual meeting. But when we meet that first weekend of May, our whole focus is going to be on what does the summer look like in terms of those teams with summer 7-on-7s and team camps and all of the training that goes in, leading into that fall season. We'll begin to work through some of those details. And again, just hoping and praying that, people, the number of people that are currently in danger in our state will be out of danger, that we'll see the curve flatten, that we'll have, the daily reports of positive cases and deaths, that will become a thing of the past. And again, we're just hoping and praying that we can return to some normalcy come August. And that's really where our focus is right now.
Absolutely. So we have had some pretty good engagement on Facebook, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. Let Matt react to some of your questions. And I just want to take a brief moment to recognize the rest of our sponsors. Lawrence Tech believes in theory and practice, and it's an amazing way to learn. Find out more at ltu.edu. Hungry Howie's is here for your family. They're open for business, famous for flavor. Get fast delivery at hungryhowies.com. Have you seen any of the DMC Game Changers segments? We have a half dozen loaded up on our State Champs app, website, and social media. The latest technology advancements in training, recovery tools. Check it out. Lots more to come. We've had a little time on our hands, Mark, so the State Champs locker is busting out a ton of great highlights from throughout the State Champs era. Let's check out today's clip in This Week in State Champs History. All right, so that was Riley Kennedy's overtime game winner versus the Hill Academy on April 2012. So it's fun kind of get an opportunity to look at those kind of clips, right? So Mark Ewell still here with us. Mark, I want to get to some of the questions here, so this show does not run too long. Here's a question. Are they reviewing the transfer rules to allow immediate participation to any students who may transfer due to financial hardship?
Due to financial hardship, that's a conversation that has not been had yet. Next week, once we get our staff back together again and begin to meet virtually looking at next year, we're going to work our way through a number of different issues. So essentially, we're now going to be in an out-of-season period coming up. So giving some guidance and leadership in terms of coaches connecting with kids right now virtually in terms of all of those normal out-of-season activities. And so obviously the transfer rule will get some conversation as well, because again, to not have a season even start, that is uncharted water for all of us. So no, the decision that really has driven everything up to today was whether or not that we could play. And then next week is the time to now look forward to 2021 school year and to start to take those issues one by one.
We did get a basketball question. It's not even plausible now to resume any kind of tournament during the summer months.
Things would just have to completely, literally a month from now, things would have to do another complete 180. I know there's a saying that you never say never, but sitting where we are today and knowing what we know today, the answer to that would be no. But again, if we're sitting here a month from now and the governor would somehow declare a completely all clear, obviously, you're going to stay engaged here on a daily basis. But as we sit here today, the answer to that is certainly no.
A couple more quick basketball questions. The teams that were playing for district hardware, they were right at the district championship game. Do you just give both teams that were in that, can you give them a district trophy?
Yeah, so that'll be another issue that we'll work through. It's you had girls basketball that were at the regional championship level. You had boys that were at the district championship level. Ice hockey, we were all the way to our semifinals. So we just need to, again, talk about, there's a number of issues we got to work through one by one next week. And certainly how we handle those that were still alive and participating in the winter tournaments will be one of those topics.
We got a question from Shane Law, who's the Renaissance girls basketball coach. And he says that both of these next steps would help offset the recruiting damages caused by coronavirus. Can we get more basketball games, number one? And number two, can we lift out-of-state restrictions for at least one season?
So both of those were actually getting conversation before the coronavirus pandemic, increasing the number of regular season basketball games. That's actually something that our representative council will discuss and vote on at the meeting here coming up in early May.
Okay, appreciate you taking these questions. How many parents, coaches, and athletes did you talk to in order to gain their perspectives, if any, both for and against canceling the remainder of sports? And how did that impact your decision to cancel the remainders of the seasons versus postponing until June or July?
We got literally hundreds of different contact points from individuals. We worked through all of our school group leadership. So I was in constant communication with the leadership of our Superintendents Association, our Principals Association, our Athletic Directors Association, and plus I pride myself on being as approachable as I possibly can be. And I have literally over the last 3 weeks gotten over 1,000 emails from folks with all kinds of different perspectives and input. Certainly a good percentage of those were from the class of 2020 who were imploring us to wait as long as possible before making any decision. And then also part of this too is we were in constant communication with our state government, with our state health departments. And so, to say what kind of input went into this decision, I'm not sure that we've ever made a decision where we've had more input from all of our different constituency groups. Those coaches that still had teams involved in the winter, from all of our spring community. And so lots of input. At the end of the day, you got to take a step back and look at the public health crisis that we're in with all of the government recommendations of how we can get back to some sense of normalcy, and then with the decision to close our schools, that ultimately is where we landed where we did today.
Okay, I'm only going to read two more questions. One is, why did the decision have to be made so soon? Why not wait a couple more weeks?
Well, I think at some point when you wait a couple more weeks, I think you do give folks some false hope. Everything that we're hearing from government officials as well as health department officials, that the earliest, again, they are speculating and they're projecting here, would have been some sort of easing of social distancing regulations and the quarantine in early to mid-June. And that could only get pushed back later if the flattening of the curve comes later than what they thought. So we certainly could have waited another 2 or 3 weeks, but at some point, I don't think you're being very honest and ingenuous with people we were always working our way backwards through the calendar saying kind of what was that last date that we could go. that's why the decision that was made was today. And again, a huge domino in this whole thing was the governor's decision yesterday to close all schools for the remainder of the school year.
Okay, and then lastly, with the decision, how will students' academic eligibility for the fall sports be affected? Because obviously we don't have grade. I don't think we're going to have grades here for the next few months.
So a couple different approaches. I know that based on the guidance we read in the governor's order yesterday, that those who are seniors will be given credit, and each school district will determine if they've met the requirements for graduation in their district. So as far as we understand, there's no extra work required of seniors unless they were behind in credits, and then they'll have an opportunity to make those up. For juniors, sophomores, and freshmen, they're going to have ongoing educational opportunities here through the rest of the year. And then schools will award grades. In some cases, schools will award those grades after the end of the online education here in the next 6 to 8 weeks. In other schools that will simply be awarding grades, those will be the grades that then will determine eligibility for the fall. Do know, Lauren, that whenever kids are ineligible at the end of the spring term, they do have the ability to make up credits and work over the summer to get themselves back in an eligible status for the fall. And then it's also important to know that all incoming freshmen, so the current 8th graders that will be freshmen in the fall, they all start with a clean slate in terms of their academic eligibility. So really, juniors, sophomores, and current freshmen, each school district will make those decisions here moving forward as well.
Hey, just last scenario I'm going to throw at you, and this is just, for those who do want to cling to a little hope. Let's say we get through, May, and all of a sudden, some normalcy is back. The social distancing guidelines are restricted. Schools in June begin summer school, which means facilities are open. Is there some, chance maybe that with facilities open, there could be an opportunity for competition?
You never say completely never, Lauren, but all the information we have in front of us right now is that things aren't trending in that direction. But again, I think we would cross that bridge when we got to it. And and believe me, if that bridge presented itself, I think that would be welcomed by everybody right now, where it's been a tough 3 weeks anxiety-wise, and keeping a good frame of mind for just about every American citizen.
No doubt about it. We've gone way longer than we wanted to. Real quick, and maybe you'll enjoy this, Mark, we put a new spin on our MHSAA clip of the day.
And that's your MHSAA clip of the day.
All right, so people are getting creative out there, making videos with their families, with their teammates. We encourage them to keep doing that. Thank you, Northville. And if you have a video of your teammates doing some sort of sporting activity at home, you can definitely have your clip be the clip of the day. Connect with us and we'll check it out. I want to thank Mark Ewell for coming on to talk about the high school sports community. We really do appreciate it. Please, let's do this again. If there is something that you want to communicate, we want to be your venue.
Thanks, Lauren.
Okay, and just want to say, fans, if you're a fan of high school robotics, we have new fresh content going up daily. You can check it out by downloading our free State Champs app. You can also find it on our socials. Just look for RoboZone. We're also streaming League of Legends matches and other games at our State Champs Esports Twitch channel. So look for that. On Monday, we're going to have Livonia Churchill Athletic Director Mark Haig joining us. He really put out a pretty incredible moving open letter to high school athletes. So join us Monday at 2 p.m. That's the end of the show. Stay healthy, and we'll see you next time on State Champs Live.
State Champs, Live is presented by Lawrence Technological University, where Blue Devils dare. The Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. Hungry Howie's, famous for flavor. And the Detroit Medical Center. Do you have a sports injury or are just looking to take your game to the next level? Go where the pros go. Visit dmc.org/gamechangers.